live. Yeah, we going live. Hey, we going live. Yeah, we going live. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line. Hey.
All right, so we got to talk about it. And we got to talk about it, one, because it's my team, the Washington football team.
Oh, gosh.
But no.
They ain't even got no name. Whatever.
We don't got a name.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. They'll get one.
Right.
Not for long.
But another history-making move for the NFL.
Yeah.
Jennifer King, a Black woman,
yes.
Was promoted to the assistant running backs coach, making her the first female full-time coaching assistant in the NFL.
Yeah.
Let's clap it up.
I'm here for that kind of sports media information.
Yes.
That's my kind of feminism right there. Hashtag.
Yes.
My kind of feminism. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love it.
And it's something that we highlight every time we see it, you know.
Yeah.
Like
we're
even
gonna make sure it's
right when because I believe Bruce Arians was the first to do it with
he did with the two ladies. Yeah, he got two female coaches. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So he did it with the Bucks, but he did it first with the Cardinals, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he did.
And then we saw the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
But those women weren't full-time assistants.
Exactly.
So this is the first time we've seen a full-time assistant, a woman as a full-time assistant head coach. And one of the things I loved about it is I watched the clip of her coaching. She has their complete respect.
Awesome.
You're watching these players go through drills and her like coaching them up. And I'm like, nah, they're like, this isn't something like that was just handed out.
Right.
They respect this woman. And like, hats off.
Absolutely.
Everybody who was involved in this decision.
No, for real. Listen, your team is doing their thing.
Yeah.
They are. They're doing their thing. Like Dan Snyder might be a butt, but the team.
Leave him alone. I got you.
The team is, they're doing their thing. Like they're making and kind of back to what you were talking about, Stephanie. For whatever reasons they're doing it, we have to celebrate it.
Yes,
it could just be because Dan Snyder has been such a whatever, and because they had to get rid of their name and. All of that stuff has motivated them to say, but we're going to show you how we can be diverse. I don't care why you did it. You got a Latino head coach. You got, you know what I mean? You got a black GM. Now you got a black female coach. I love it. Keep going.
Yeah. Look, let's do the catalyst work because that's the example now. They are the standard. They're becoming the standard for how to diversify from the top down.
That's right.
I'm saying it takes those little wins at those lower levels and at the top. Put that together, then move forward. Because no longer can people say, well, this is the reason why we can't.
Right.
All of those excuses
out the window. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm here for it. Yay,
no, I love it. And just you bringing up Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians, his whole squad black.
There we go.
Female and black. His whole squad.
Defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. You know how I feel about his offensive coordinator.
His special teams coordinator, everybody.
Yes.
See, that's what I'm talking about. It starts somewhere. We just got to celebrate it. We got to pump it up like we pump up. Oh, I got into Harvard. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to do that.
Love it. So no, this was big. Love it. I can't wait to see what she does with them. Like,
I want to, you know, obviously we celebrate this, but I want to hear about when she goes somewhere and she is the head running backs coach.
Right.
And if she becomes an offensive coordinator, like
it's a done deal.
Yeah.
It's over. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch out. It's coming.
Yeah. We're going to see it happen. We're going to see it happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
It will happen. I love it. Let's go.
Yeah. Yes.
Who run the world?
I'm sorry. Are we going Beyonce? Are we going Beyonce?
Give her. Give her.
Woo! Yes. Yes. So.
All right. Mental health moment.
Yeah.
And we are proud to bring Miss Stephanie Johnson to you all for this mental health moment. Stephanie, please tell us about what you're doing, and tell us a little bit about your path to what you're doing.
Okay. Sure. Well, again, I'm Stephanie Johnson. I am grateful that you all asked me to be a part of this podcast this evening. It's been a lot of fun. I love doing this type of stuff. So, like I said earlier, I was a curious kid about human behavior when I was very young. I always asked the question of like, why do people do things that they do? And later on, as I got older, I learned probably when I was in middle school or high school, I think middle school, that my mom has schizophrenia. And because I would always ask this question around, like, why people say my mom is sick and she don't look sick? Like, what's going on? And, there was a lot of factors involved in that, but that curiosity about human behavior, learning that my mom has schizophrenia, learning about other mental illnesses that family members had, led me to be even more curious when I was going to college about what I wanted to do for a living. So in high school, I was just like, yeah, I think I'm going into psychology. Fast forward, I got my BA in psych from Dillard University, Blue Devils, New Orleans, and then went to University of Northern Iowa, where I got my clinical psych master's degree. And from there, I've worked in community mental health. I've worked in mental health institutions. I've worked in Atlanta at Grady Hospital on the 13th floor, where the inpatient psychiatric unit is, doing clinical research. And that's where I spent most of my time. Before I actually left in September of 2019 to take on the executive director role of this organization, the Lee Thompson Young Foundation. I don't know if you all remember the famous Jet Jackson, but Lee Thompson Young was the first African-American male lead role for Disney when he got that role. And he went on to do Friday Night Lights. He went on to do, and when he passed away, unfortunately, he was on Rizzoli and Isles. And
that's my show.
A lot of people know him from that show, remember him from that show. Yeah. He unfortunately passed due to suicide in 2013. Yeah. And his family started this organization in his honor to carry on his legacy, but for most importantly, in stigma related to mental illness. Because little did people know that Lee Thompson Young had bipolar disorder. And he, however, managed it very well, took his medication, had a doctor he saw, but of course struggled in silence. A lot of close friends of his knew, of course his family knew, but there was some things that he understood about his industry that it could lead him to not get work. It could, the stigma out there could lead to shame. And so his family wanted to use that as a way to educate people, from youth all the way up to adults, around mental health awareness, but also more importantly, mental illness awareness. And this is something that we don't see very much in our culture around mental health. We talk about it. We won't talk about them separately as if there's certain things we need to know about them separately. We kind of put them all in one general umbrella, and they're different. And getting people to understand that is different. So I actually took on the role as executive director in the latter part of 2019, and have been working with this organization over last year to do more work virtually, of course, due to the pandemic. But we do a lot of things like, mental health curriculum, mental health education curriculum around what is it, early warning signs, how to recognize signs and symptoms. We talk about how caregivers can gain support and be supportive to each other, know how to deal with certain situations on the end of illness when you have a young child as well as an older child who has an illness. We do a lot of community projects and collaborate with other organizations to promote anything related to mental health wellness and awareness. Aside from that, I started a behavioral health consulting company called NaviPsych LLC. And I started this because while I was working in research, I interviewed psychiatric patients and their families. And what I found out was how difficult it was for people to move through the mental health care system successfully and get the type of help, the specialty care that's out there for their specific needs. And what hurt the most is that people would really try and the system would fail them.
Yep.
They would show up at a clinic but can't get seen because they're not on the schedule.
Yep.
Their parents have called all the resources, but like I said before, because the person wasn't at risk of harming themselves or had not harmed themselves, they didn't get to come. The mobile crisis didn't come take them to the hospital. They had to wait. And so in the midst of that, turmoil happens. So when people show up, the system has to do something to help them. We can't keep expecting people to just kind of rely on and to just tide. No, it's life or death for me when it comes to people and their mental health. And so what I actually started doing last year, or as a result of leaving my other work and starting working part-time, was I started working for myself part-time under Navipsych. And now I help individuals navigate that road to mental health care. I match people who are looking for mental health providers with mental health providers that not only meet their specific mental health needs, but also match their specific personal needs or personal preferences, because those things matter. Having someone who you don't have to explain your culture, your womanhood or manhood to, those things matter. And so it's been an awesome way for me to work. I enjoy this work. I intend to collaborate with you guys one day, hopefully.
You will be. Don't worry.
I'm about to say you already pegged.
We already in our head, like, yes.
So it's what I love to do is share information. I love to connect people to resources and connect. I want to see people live their best quality of life, no matter what stage, what that looks like, because people determine that for themselves. But if they're not fulfilled in how they do that, even with an illness, these are the things that really hold people back. And we as a whole have to start thinking that there is no absolute way to live life. There's just living life. And for people who have illnesses, people who have these involuntary things that are going on, they need a safe way to do that. And they need to be able to be all of themselves as they do that. So, as it relates to Chad Wheeler, it would be great for his story to be told, for us to hear, and any other players, for instance, who have gone through struggles, to hear the ones that are actually living with illnesses and doing very well and people don't know it. Those are the stories that we need to hear and see more, because those people exist. The coaches who are going through it or have been through it and have diagnoses that people don't know. We need to hear those stories more, because those are the stories that help the younger kids who are currently going through and need some hope that they can live quality lives. So this is what motivates me to continue to do this work. And it's not, glamorous all the time. It don't lead to a lot of pay right away.
It's all right.
Got to be done. So, hey,
that's
why not?
Right. Somebody got to do it. That's
Somebody's got to do it, and the rest will come. And that's what I believe.
Right.
So it's definitely coming. It is definitely coming. I'm very grateful for 2020 because I got a chance to recuperate from burnout, which I was severely impacted by, and the stress of the job that kind of went downhill for a little bit, and led to my own anxiety and experiencing in a way that, it awakened me to understand that when Black women go in, or Black people, and this is very important, people of color are not typically in the samples of clinical trials when interventions are developed. And if they are, they're usually the least amount of people, because where research happens, research and development happens, most of those institutions are predominantly white. So if they are not in an Atlanta and at a Grady where you have easy access to those large samples of people to bring into clinical trials for things, then you don't get them in abundance. And so for me, the way anxiety showed up was atypical to the questionnaire that they give you when you go in to assess anxiety. I knew I was having anxiety because I know what anxiety is. But according to that questionnaire they gave me, I didn't answer none of those questions. So, but the doctor still, by the way, wanted to put me on a med. And she asked me, she's like, do you want to be on a med? You know this, but think about the number of people who don't know better.
Exactly.
Or are not referred to a service provider after that general practitioner visit, where they go and they know that they're experiencing something and it's not medically related. I knew my heart palpitations were not because I had a cardiovascular issue. It was because of stress. And so for me, I knew I had to remove myself from that job, reorganize my life, and do things in my daily life to de-stress. But how many people don't know that, right?
Lots and lots.
That's what this system is, and that's why I do the work that I do.
Love it.
Now we salute you. I mean, this is tireless work. You know what I'm saying? It feels from the people that I know who do this work as well. It feels thankless, you know, but it's so necessary.
In a way, because I will say, you know, it depends on how you look for thanks and how you perceive success.
Right.
Because for me, I worked in research with predominantly African American patients who had psychotic disorders. And as a clinical research coordinator at the time, who was the only Black person on my team, my research team, in a predominantly white male-led field. What I looked for in those clinical trial protocols was how safe was it for Black people. And when they didn't look safe and they made the matters worse after the trial, I tapped out. And this became a practice that I noticed was happening more and more with some of the studies. And it made it very difficult for me to do my job because I refused to be the person that recruited people into studies who I knew were going to suffer more from the little bit of gain they might get from participating in that trial. And that's where professionals have to be held accountable. That's where healthcare has to be held accountable and universities have to be held accountable, because where I got thanks and success was when I was on a trial for 2 years and people wanted to take a long-acting injection for the first time because they had an illness, just to see if it was going to help them. And they agreed to it and they took it and did exceptionally well for the majority of them, and not have any other intervention like community care or anything like that. And to see them go off and do things like go back to school, get a job, not be pressured, you know, be a pressure to their families, to actually be a part of their family successfully. To me, that's my success, because I'm a part of walking them through that process. That was something that was fulfilling for me. And even further than that, to have people who would leave those projects, and when they disengaged from services and knew they were starting to have symptoms again, to call me or text me and be like, yo, I need to get in and see somebody. That's the reward, right? Because that's what we want people to do.
Right.
That's where you know people are getting better. Right. And so that's what, you know, that's the thanks.
Yeah. Makes sense. Love it. Awesome. Yeah. Can't wait to work with you. How about that? Let's just talk about that.
Well, it's definitely, we appreciate you sharing your story and your journey with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me.
Appreciate it. On to the real.
On to the real.
We know that we are a little bit over a year since the untimely passing of Kobe Bryant. And not just Kobe, but all of the people who were on that helicopter.
Yeah.
And so I want to first start with saying a rest in peace to all of those, all of the people in that helicopter who perished that day.
Absolutely.
Your life, all of your lives mattered.
For sure.
And what I don't want to happen is in us, you know, memorializing Kobe Bryant, that we forget that there were other people there.
There were 7 other people, 8 other people.
Yeah. But so for this On to the Real, we wanted to discuss like just some things about Kobe Bryant and kind of how he impacted us. And just to, you know, honor him, you know what I'm saying? You know, it still feels surreal. You know, obviously I don't think any of us knew Kobe Bryant personally, but when you're somebody who is a figure like him, who has that level of impact on all of the people you come in contact with, whether it be directly or indirectly, your you know, your passing is going to be felt. And so I'll start off by saying I was not a huge basketball fan of Kobe Bryant. and we talked about that, like, one, he was kind of like Michael Jordan. And you know how I feel about Michael Jordan. But like the one thing that was undeniable, and I will say about, Michael Jordan as well, but the one thing that was undeniable about Kobe is his grit and his will. You just saw it. And not being a Kobe Bryant fan, it's like you want to root against him, but like
you can't help it.
You can't help, like you can't help but look at him drain a 3-pointer to win a game, and like just how he just goes off, and it's like, man, but one of the areas that once he, not even after he officially retired, before he retired, you could just see, like, he had become so at peace, and so a lot of the stuff that he was doing, like one thing that I was, I paid very close attention to him was what he was doing in business. What he was doing as far as investing, some of the moves that he was making. And I was like, yo, like, this is the blueprint. You know what I'm saying? Like, just crafting that whole, the Black Mamba was his nickname, and then turning that into like something bigger than just a nickname. And so on top of him being a great and one of the top 5 greatest basketball players ever, on top of that, the stuff that he did off the court, for me, would be one of the lasting like impressions that will be left on me.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for me, obviously, Kobe's right up there with Michael Jordan for me, as far as what he did in the sport. But the individual that he was off the court, I mean, we don't have to go into all of the business things he did, because I mean, it's well documented. But what I want to talk about is Kobe as the human being who was, and this was something that you kind of touched on, Stephanie, just the self-aware, very compassionate and confident man that he was. He exuded this in every area of his life, as a basketball player, as a husband, as a father, as a businessman, as a friend. That's why so many people were impacted by the loss, because in every area of, when you are self-aware, when you know who you are and you are unapologetic about who you are, it shows exponentially, and people gravitate to those types of people because it's comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's who we all want to be. That's the goal, right? That's what we want to be. And so for me, in honoring him, I wanted to honor him, the man.
Yeah.
The human being that he was. And just his intelligence, it was just so much about him that was right. I mean, nobody's perfect, but there was so much about him that was right. And it's just, it hurts still today to know that somebody who was about to have such, and for us, for females, let me just say this, because Kobe was a huge, huge, huge advocate for women in sports.
Yes. And
he was about to shake up the world with what he was doing with those girls. And it was he knew the platform he had, and he was going to use it to help to catapult them to the next level. And it is just, so that's it. Because I'll be crying in a minute. So.
I was about to say, let me stop for a minute. Interestingly, this part of me that, doesn't really follow sports. So like I pay attention. And I will say kind of early on in Kobe's career, when I paid attention and when I did watch some, sports more. I didn't like him. I was like, he's too arrogant. I don't like that. I'd like you to be good. Because for me, unfortunately for me, I take the psychological right with a lot of things. So for me, it was people are watching you, like little kids are watching you. Don't be arrogant.
Some humility, man.
Yes. But then I watched his progression though. So one of the things about people and their personalities is that I'm drawn to certain ones. And so his I was drawn to. And I watched his progression and I saw as he got older, he matured. And one of the things I appreciated more so after he retired, I started to really appreciate him because I saw the man part, right? I saw the human part. I saw the father part. I saw what was most impressive to me was hearing him in an interview say, people keep asking me if I'm gonna be all right. Like if I'm gonna be okay after this is over. And I'm like, yo, I'm fine. I'm gonna be all right. And I would love that because that's the message that so people in life need. That you are not this one thing that even though you did that thing for however long, but that's not just your totality. That's not who you are. You are more than that one thing. So explore the other stuff. Everything comes to an end.
Preach.
So when you are ending something, it doesn't mean that that's the end of life. It just means it's on to the next one.
Right.
That's where I was like, I'm a Kobe fan. Now I'm a Kobe fan. Because
that's real.
About the humanity of people, like where you can see yourself develop and grow and expand and be your best self. I'm all about that. Because that's what we don't hear. That's what we don't get. And Kobe was all about that message. It wasn't just about him. It was, and so watching footage and watching tapes and watching interviews after he retired was what I started doing. And then after he died, I watched even more. And I was like, this person embodied all of the principles that we try to get in life. And that all of the steps and the stages, he lived them. So it's almost like he gave us a rubric.
Right.
Can be
That's true.
Of all the stages. We can look at it at one end as all his life was cut too short. Or we can say, well, that's what God gave him. What did we get out of it? What do we have left?
What's the lesson? Yeah.
Is going to be with us forever.
That's right.
And I think for me, he left a spiritual impact. When he passed away, something shifted in me. I was like, to the point, because I don't pay that close attention to celebrities in that way. But there are some people that, they get you and lift you. And I was like, oh, I felt that. Like it was, and it still feels like that for me. When I see his face, when I think of his wife and his kids, it's a spiritual thing because it's like there was so much energy that he exuded, that he connected with people in so many different ways, but that all kind of somehow connects everybody else, and you feel it is palpable. That right there. That's unmistakable, right?
Yeah,
that's unmistakable
for sure. Yeah.
So,
right.
Again, rest in peace to
Kobe.
Everyone who was on the helicopter
and everybody. Yes,
Kobe
every
Bryant.
person on that plane. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Into that.
All right. Show picks.
Yeah.
What you watching?
Okay. So this show is crazy. It's called Flack. And it is like a white Olivia Pope for celebrities.
Okay.
So this is a publisher, like a PR firm, but they're fixers. So these celebrities get into these pickles, and they gotta go turn things around and flip the stories, and it's crazy. I watched I watched the first season of it. I binge watched it. It was crazy, but it is really, really, and it's an all female PR firm.
Oh wow.
So they going out here doing some stuff to get these celebrities. Yeah, it was really good. It captured me from the beginning. So It was really good. Yeah.
Nice.
It's on Amazon Prime, so if you got Prime, check it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so mine is on Amazon too, and I'm not even going to talk about the movie. You just got to see it. American Skin.
Okay.
What is it?
Yeah, American Skin. It's
Oh,
a film by
yes.
Nate Parker.
Yes, I've heard of this. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You got to watch it.
All right.
I won't even spoil it. I won't even attempt to, say.
Friday's my day off. I'll be in the TV bar then.
Amazon. I'm not sure if it's Amazon Prime or if it's like an Amazon movie that you have to purchase. But
it might. Is it? Well, it doesn't matter. I'll go find it tomorrow. I'll find out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, Stephanie, what you watching?
Okay, what am I watching? I do a lot of reruns these days because that's what.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. Listen,
so
different world, side, all kind of stuff.
So on one side, I'll say I love Everybody Loves Raymond. So that's my. At the end of the night, I end my nights with comedy. I have to laugh before I go to sleep. So
that's right. Me too.
I have to go through my Everybody Loves Raymond. But the new series that I saw that I thought was really interesting was Surviving Death on Netflix. It is about near-death experiences and all of the spirituality parts of it, coupled with the neuroscience, psychiatric, psychological parts that are also involved. And so a lot of the experts that are involved or who talk about it, there are places that they actually study paranormal behavior, mediumship, near-death experiences. Like there are institutes that do MRI scans on people after they've had a near-death experience.
Oh, wow.
And it was really amazing. And it also made me think because the show is predominantly white people talking about this. And I was like, where are the people of color? And it's, of course, you didn't ask the question, well, because scientifically, these are two schools of thought that don't really always play
exactly.
Together, right?
Exactly.
But more and more, and there was a doctor who was on the show. I won't tell you what happened to her, but she had a near-death experience, and it is what shifted her spiritually. So it made me think, like, we as a culture kind of have this existence of afterlife, spirituality.
Of course, we think that automatically.
Right. It's not very from this intellectual place.
Right.
But in this way, you see this intellectual side of it and how it breaks down. And it's kind of like, these worlds, even at the spiritual level, are so different. But there's so much information about it. And there's so many more doctors and scientists who are exploring spirituality simply because people are literally dying on their tables and waking back up.
Right.
Tell you what I saw.
Right. I saw the light. Yeah.
Yes. I went into the light. There were some people there. They told me go back and turn around. So yeah.
Gotta check that out. Thank y'all. Y'all gave me my weekend. Appreciate it.
So yes.
Cool. Stephanie, you want to tell the people where they can find you, like on social media, on website?
So you can go to www.ltyfoundation.org to find out more about the Lee Thompson Young Foundation. And if you are in need of mental health navigation services by me, the mental health navigator, you can go to www.navipsych.com. I am on Instagram the most at navipsych. That is my handle. And then I also run the LTY Foundation page at LTY Foundation on Instagram as well. And we also have a Facebook page. So yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So y'all know how to get to her.
Yes.
I got one thing, the one sad note that just kind of came in there as we were doing a podcast, and we got to say a rest in peace to Cicely Tyson.
Absolutely.
Her career spanned decades, and she will be missed. She will be missed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, it's a party going on in heaven right now.
Man, let me tell you, they are like getting it because Cicely Tyson worked up until her last day.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I used to look at her and be like, she still remember lines?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, what am I doing with my life?
I don't know what they eating and
What
drinking,
am I doing? Yes, her and Betty White. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Because I can't remember half of yesterday, but man, she was phenomenal and such a wonderful example. So yes,
Absolutely.
rest in peace to her.
Rest in peace. Absolutely.
And peace to her family and her friends and all who worked with her.
Yeah.
I'm sure she is just, people are missing that impact.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So thank
All right. So this has been the episode 97. I don't even think I said that in the beginning.
You didn't at the beginning.
This has been episode 97. We thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much
for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Of course. Of course. As always, we appreciate you guys for rocking with us. If you want to reach out to us, it's at Field the #2 The Real Podcast on Instagram. On Twitter, it's at Field the #2 The Real P1. If you want to shoot us an email, it's Field the #2 The Real Podcast @gmail.com. Please go to our YouTube page, like, share, subscribe, comment, share. Share some more. Right.
Watch it again. Share it again.
And if we are on Facebook, I always forget Facebook.
We are.
Okay, I'm sorry. I always forget Facebook, but
we're on Facebook.
We're on Facebook. Definitely connect with us on Facebook. And as always, we just love and appreciate you guys for continuing to listen to us on a weekly basis. And for those of you who do give us feedback, we appreciate the feedback.
Yes.
But as always, we out. Peace.
Now put the cameras on me. 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 Put the cameras on me.